Hello friends, Flying Brian here. We're going to have a great flight today, flying to the Ford Museum in Auburn, Indiana. We've already pre-flighted Helicopter Lucy, so come on, let's go. And this is the engine start checklist that I have. I want to show you guys something because I think this is pretty cool. Back in the day, and this is in really good shape, considering this helicopter's 1957. This is the original pilot operating handbook. So Chuck and PT from Whirlybirds and some of the others all probably touched this book, which is pretty special itself. But I want to open it up, and I want everyone to see the condition that this is in. Again, this is the original 1957 operating limitations handbook. It's even got the original weight and balance that they did, and here's one that was actually updated in 1972 when they made some changes to it. But it's pretty cool to see what condition this one is. I didn't want to wear this out because it is historic and so much, so I made our own checklist that we do today. So anyway, thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to share that with you. These on. It's got a lot of automobile history here in Auburn. Now, right behind us here, there's a history plaque. Tell us what this is all about.
This plaque is about the people that donated to build a museum, where the vehicles came from and things like that. We have donors, obviously, from all over the country, and some of them have put an awful lot of money into this place.
Oh, it looks fantastic. It looks great from the air, too.
Thank you.
What we have, you can tell us about the collection when people walk through the, it says the Frank Corey Gallery.
Yes, Frank donated money for this, and he did an awful lot of work for us for quite a while. Frank passed away a few years ago. One of the things that we have over here is the chassis for a 1932 Ford V8. In 1929, Chevy was building a six-cylinder, and Ford still had the Model A with a four-cylinder, and they were getting killed in sales by Chevrolet. And Ford finally figured out that he had to do something or he wasn't going to exist anymore. So he grabbed a guy that was like his hip pocket engineer and told him to go out and buy a copy of every V8 he could find. Cadillac had a V8, Cord here in Auburn had V8s, things like that. So the guy got a bunch of them, and then a corps of engineers at Ford took them apart and went through them, tried to figure out how are we going to do this. Because Henry's stipulation was the block had to be cast in one piece. Otherwise, they couldn't do mass production. So they repeatedly tried to get it to go that way, for one, because they were developing brand new technology as they went through it. And some of their suppliers were helping them out with this, because all of a sudden their suppliers who'd had an idea on how to high-speed cast iron were given enough money to do it. So in 1932, they finally went into production after a bunch of failures, and a guy named Charlie Sorensen, who got the nickname Cast Iron Charlie, he was one of the lead production guys, the lead production guy for Ford Motor, and Charlie figured out how to do it and showed all the guys in the foundry how to do it. By the time the chassis that's in front of us went into production, and it had to be completely rebuilt to handle the V8, because you've got more weight, more power, completely different from the Model A. But by the time the 32 Ford went into production, Ford had invested $639 million in getting the V8 into production, and that's at $1930. And Brian, I haven't had the guts to Google it and see what that would be today, but it's going to be in the billions, easy.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Ford Motor Company was the only automobile company in the world that could have done something like that financially.
All right, well, let's walk the line here. We've got a whole bunch of great-looking vehicles over here. I guess let's start on the left.
Okay, on the left is the 1937 Lincoln Zephyr three-window coupe. That is on loan to us from the Auburn Duesenberg Museum. And that is the kind of coupe that a doctor might have, or a salesman who has a lot of money. It's a V12 three-speed, and unfortunately, ACD doesn't want us to drive it. I'd like to, but they said no. We can take it out we drive it every year, but only for about 10 miles, just to make sure everything's loosened up and it's still working. It was an expensive car at the time. We have on the signs in front of it the average yearly income and then the price of the car, which you can go through and see that you could get a 32 Ford for $400, $500. But the average income for a year for a person in the United States was about $1,300 at the time.
What years was that when that income was that level?
1932. We have on the signs right here, the average cost of playing cards was 55 cents for 2 packs, and a lawnmower cost $4.95. That's $4.95.
Those were the Depression years.
Yep. Yeah. About the deepest part of it, 32. So everything fell apart in 29, and 32 kind of stunk. That was another big bet that Ford made on that. People without a lot of money, and here they come out with a V8. And Henry made the announcement in 36, as far as we're concerned, the Depression's over. So
open your checkbooks back up, right?
Exactly, right.
All right. Well, let's go to the next one real quick. What do we have over here?
Next one is a 37 Ford 5-window coupe. And that became a very popular car, say back in the 50s, for hot rodders, because it's very aerodynamic. It's really slick. You could put the flathead that was in it, you could put on Offenhauser manifolds, Offenhauser head covers on it, things like that, jack up the compression, and you could get it up to maybe a whole 200 horsepower. So
that's impressive.
It is for the time. The flathead didn't produce the amount of power that the overhead valves did, just because it wasn't capable of it, because of the way you have the cylinder heads are set up and things like that.
Now, I notice in the grill there's an opening where you could put a crank. I'm assuming this is electric start with a crank start as a backup.
For some reason, Ford kept the hole in the grill, but you cannot crank start a Ford V8. Somebody in the Ford V8 club might correct me on that, but based on the kickback from the Model T, especially in the Model A, you'd be out of your mind to try to.
Could be a lot of work. All right, next we've got this one with a Michigan 1937 license plate.
Yep, we got a 37 Ford Cabriolet, and that was a very popular car. It's convertible, so that would be car that, again, somebody of means would drive around. Not especially expensive. I think the price on that new was $694. So not brutally expensive.
Everyone could almost afford that, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
That was the Ford idea was that everybody can afford the cars. Henry Ashley wasn't a big fan of Lincoln. He bought Lincoln primarily to give Edsel something to do, to leave him alone, because Edsel was all about style and power. And I've become a huge fan of Edsel Ford since I've been here.
Next, what do we have here with the Kentucky plates?
We got a 1937 Ford pickup truck with the V8, and that's got the V860 in it, which is a smaller motor. Ford made two sizes of the V8. They made the 85 and the 60. We have a cutaway of the 60 right here. The idea with the Ford 60 is it's only 60 horsepower, and it was supposed to be a fuel saver. But what they found out was that as vehicles got bigger, 60 horsepower just didn't cut it. So that motor got repurposed by a bunch of people into things like hydroplanes and midget racers. And we have a gentleman out in New Jersey who's going to donate his hydroplane from 1960 that has a Ford V60 in it. He just has to come to the conclusion that he's ready to let go. He's 83. Last time he drove it, it was 70. He's 78, and you drive it kneeling. So when I'm 78, I don't think my knees would take that.
There's a lot of abuse all the way around.
All the way around, yeah.
All right, well, let's keep going down the line. This is a very impressive Ford pickup truck, but over here we've got more of a coupe, a Ford coupe.
Right. This is going to be a 5-window, and that was the most popular coupe that Ford made. So that's going to be a standard coupe. It's got a huge trunk on it, so that would be a salesman, something like that. You could put everything in the back, all the clothes you needed to be on the road for a week or a month, whatever you were going to do.
Nice cars. Next up, this one's from Oregon.
Right, we got a 39 Ford Standard Tudor sedan. Ford had a Tudor spelled Tudor, as in the British Tudor, to stand for two doors. And it is a pretty comfortable car. You flip the seats forward, you can pack people in the back. And one of the things that's amazing about these vehicles is how big the back seat are. I remember being crammed in the back seat with my sister and my brother. And it was great when we had a 67 Olds, but when we had a 72 Ford LTD, it wasn't all that.
Dad came home one day with a 71 Olds 98. There was lots of room in there.
Oh, yeah, lots of room. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, and this is a convertible Ford, the first convertible I've seen so far today.
Right. This is a Lincoln. This is a 1940 Lincoln Continental Cabriolet, very first Lincoln Continental. And to my mind, this is Edsel Ford's masterpiece. He worked with a gentleman named Bob Gregory, who is actually a naval architect. Bob designed yachts before he went to work for Ford. And both of them were of the same mind, that the lines of a car should make the car, not adding all the chrome and all the bling. So when you look at this car, there's only a stainless steel stripe along the bottom edge of the front fenders, the door, and then to the back. There's no running boards. The chrome on the grille is minimal. The bumpers are small. The hood ornament only goes back as far as the tail of it instead of running all the way up to the windshield, as a lot of cars had at the time. Chrome stripped down the middle, and the hood ornament actually is the latch to raise the hood. But it's very minimalist, but this, to me, is the most beautiful car that we have.
Do you get to drive this one?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
I was gonna say, no limitations on this one.
No. In fact, the gentleman who donated this to the museum, part of his stipulation was it had to be driven so many miles a year. And my plan for 2025 is to eclipse the amount that he had on there. Well, the one that we need to go see over here is a car like you will never see anywhere else. There's only 4 of them in existence. And at the Fort Wayne Rod and Custom Show last spring, I kept hearing people talk about the chrome-plated Ford. And I wasn't with the museum at the time, but I went over and started being the docent, explaining to them that it's not chrome-plated. The body is made out of stainless steel. So Allegheny Metals out in Pennsylvania contracted Ford Motor Company to build 10 of these sedans, 1936 two-door sedans, out of stainless steel, which was a new material at the time. So Ford got to 6, and it busted all of their stamping equipment because stainless is so much tougher than the regular carbon steel that they were doing. So underneath, it's a complete 1936 Ford, and when the chassis would rust out, the engine would wear out, they'd pick the body off and put a new 36 Ford underneath it. The salesman got to drive these cars based on their sales numbers.
I see.
And the original car, when these cars first came out, they were just the pickled stainless that you see if you go and buy it, say, at a metal producer. And this car's got over 1,000 hours in it of polishing. And when you park it outside underneath a bunch of trees, the sunlight and the leaves reflect off of it, and it almost disappears. And I never considered a bright, shiny thing like that to be camouflage, but it works really well. I don't think you could drive this car on a sunny day.
Museum, what are the hours that people can come here and enjoy these wonderful, wonderful cars?
The hours that we have are from 9 to 5, and that's Monday through Saturday, and then 11 to 3 on Sunday. We also have car shows occasionally during the summer that we put up on our website, primarily on YouTube, on Facebook as well. And we also have an events center, and we have Museum Select Motors, where you can purchase vehicles like this from us, either ones that have been donated to the museum or that people have asked us to sell for them.
Thank you to Executive Director John Hoham of the Early Ford V8 Foundation and Museum in Auburn for allowing us to tour. Thank you to Jan Jones and my daughter Lainey for videoing the segments for you to see and enjoy. The Early Ford V8 Museum is located just off I-69 in Auburn, Indiana, and open Monday through Saturdays 9 to 5 and Sundays 11 till 3. We hope you enjoyed and learned from today's video. As we begin our flight back home, thank you for watching, and check back for more Bell 47 helicopter Lucy flying adventures. Tell your friends and subscribe.